For one last time in FM23, it's time for a transfer special. Borussia Dortmund, we won't be here at the end of the episode, but before I leave, before I depart, there is some money to splash and to burn. £163 million in the bank, £60 million transfer budget. We are going to stick with our transfer restrictions. I want to leave this team in the best possible situation to finish ahead of Bayern Munich, who, in spite of everything that's happened, still dominate the Media Dream 11 and are still favourites for the league. Am I going to be able to set them up for some long-term success as we holiday into the future in tomorrow's episode? We're going to find out today. Let's do this. Yes, folks, how is it going? Welcome back to Rebuilding Dortmund. Today is episode number 24, and having won 2 Bundesligas, 3 DFB Pokals, and of course a Europa League title in this save game, today it's our final course of action. The European Football Championships are going on at the exact same time as this. That might influence some of the transfer business I may or may not be able to do. I suppose we're going to find out. And of course, here is the current squad. A squad where, to be honest, the team is set up really well. With these save games, obviously, I know roughly when the new game's going to come out. I do not plan around the fact that I'll be leaving soon. I like to leave clubs set up in a way where when I leave the club, they will long last after me. And I suppose signings like Orata last year are a testament to that. Orata, by the way, continuing to improve a ton. I'm very excited to see how he gets on when we do holiday into the future. Of course, I want to bring in some more young German talent. I've got a few players I've got my eye on, one of which the comment section has been crying out for me to sign, Serkan Ozer. I would love to sign this guy. I have already had a little chat with his agent. He wants to wait until the end of the European Football Championships to consider talking to us. Worth noting, 67 to 104 million pounds. It's a lot of money. Now, you might have already noticed in the top corner, we are on the 19th of June. I have already got to that point where the season has ticked over. So hopefully with transfer windows opening soon, we are going to get some interest in our players. There's not necessarily anyone in particular who I'm desperate to sell, but if the right offer came in for certain players, much like it almost happened last summer, probably would look to move a couple of them on. And just because I like to flex and show off, you know, I'm known for my flexing. Transfer of the signing. Transfer of the signing. Signing of the transfer of the year. Words. I can't even get them out. Signing of the season, Bundesliga last year. We'll go with that. Viper won it. I wanted to flex and instead I've just made myself look like a muppet. We got the best signing. Move on. So I think first course of action for today is just going to be to hit continue and see what transfer offers and job offers we might get. Real Madrid have offered me a job interview. Real Madrid. Okay, if this wasn't the last season of the save game and we're wrapping things up, genuinely, I'd consider going to Real Madrid. They finished second in La Liga. Their media prediction was first. Vinicius Jr. is their key player. This might be the first time ever in an episode where I've had a job offer in a save game of mine from Real Madrid of all teams. I feel like I've made it now. In some ways, it justifies ending the season now. If Real Madrid want you, I mean, what else is there left to achieve? That said, in spite of all of that, I will be declining that interview. I was just looking at some of the German players that might be available for us to pick up. Most highly rated scouted players are Jonathan Burkhardt, who is a good player. Don't necessarily think he's worth the kind of money that his valuation sits at, although he has had a good season for Benfica. The other man who pops up is Wiedreago, who, at 23 years old, is an absolutely incredible centre mid. Of course, we were on the cusp of signing him last year before he renewed his deal with Union Berlin. There is some transfer interest from Aston Villa in him. His release clause is £84 million. Obviously, I don't have £84 million, so at least right now that doesn't feel like a transfer I can make happen. Everton have made a bid for Kadir Öztürk. If that is a name that rings a bell, you might remember him as the Turkish youngster who we picked up for Union Berlin back when we were managing them. He actually left to join Freiburg for £22 million, and to be honest, at 21 years old, I don't really know if he's improved that much. He is the weirdest winger on planet Earth. If I was going to actually develop him and train him, I feel like he'd be the most no-brainer of deep-line playmakers ever, but obviously the AI doesn't see that in him. Interesting to know, Everton have made a bid of £44.5 million for him. He does look like a very, very good player, but certainly not a player I'd spend £44 million on. Have also just been looking at some of our Austrian, Swiss or Liechtensteiner signing options. There are some good players out here. The one who obviously stands out is Dietmar Walter. This guy is an Austrian 21-year-old, a phenomenal left-back, it has to be said. Valued at 81 to 96 million pounds though. That's quite a lot of money for a player who may well have already fulfilled all of their potential and is an inconsistent performer. That said, you don't really get that many amazing wing-backs, do you, in Football Manager when you go forward? They're like an endangered species, and, well, I've asked the agent, how much do you think they'll want for him? He's now told me 222 million. That is a little bit out of our budget. Just a little bit. Leopold, who last year we nearly picked up for, I think it was around £40 million, his value has now shot up to 82 million, so he's not an option. I have just looked through this list of players, thoroughly uninspired by the options available. I'm not really sure what I'm looking for. Maybe I should be looking for a younger player. Saying all of that, looking through the young players available, Raul Schmidt is the pick of the bunch, if you can call it that. 19 years old, turns 20 actually in a couple of months. Great potential, current ability lacking, has not been playing for Servette in the Super League at all. Yeah, I feel like there's not really anyone from this part of the world worth spending money on. We do still have our international wildcard option, and in fact, when I look at players who are transfer listed, there are a load of Chelsea players transfer listed. Chelsea, where did you finish in the league? Presumably, yeah, outside of the Champions League spots. They finished last year 7th place, and the years before that, they finished 6th and 8th. They've kept a lot of their players around, but they've also now got a lot of rather unhappy players. Players like Enzo Fernandez, who at 28 years old, probably regrets signing that super long-term contract at Chelsea. To be fair, his actual ratings have been good, just the team's performances haven't been. Wesley Fofana would be an immense centre-back option, but I have to remind myself of teams like Chelsea and their wages. £275,000 a week Wesley Fofana's on, valued at 109 million. That's not in my budget. Levi Colwill is transfer listed at £56 million from Leverkusen. He's a very, very good centre-back, but he does hate important matches, and I don't really need a centre-back. Okay, transfer listed players, 23 or younger. Guy who's popped up here, João Veloso dos Santos. This guy, 21 years old, 9 caps for Portugal. He actually looks absolutely immense as a centre mid. I do feel like of all our midfield positions, maybe Kameri is the weak link in the team. If you wanted an upgrade on Kameri, this guy at 21 years old could be that man. He has an asking price of 56 million. That is not a release clause. So I wonder, given the fact we've got 160 million pounds in the bank, maybe we could get something done with instalments here, because I do feel like this guy would be a massive upgrade to the midfield. Could offer something like, I don't know, 60 million, but with it spread out over a longer period of time. 10 million up front, give you a percentage profit sell on of 20%. Will they accept that? No, but they have negotiated back. How about 15 million up front, and then I'll give you 50 million over 3 years. That seems like a fair deal for me. 65 million pounds is not a small amount of money. I will scout him. I will also up the priority of this scouting, but of all the players we're looking at, he looks like the best by a country mile. Is 65 million pounds too much for this guy? He's only just turned 21 as well. There's no other interest in him. It only cost us 10 million pounds out of this year's transfer budget. Professional personality as well, I didn't even spot. This guy looks immense. I am just having a look at the other transfer listed players here, but by comparison, I mean, there is no comparison. Jonathan Jose Burkhardt here, not a bad player by any means. 19 years old, capped for the Argentine national team, but João Veloso dos Santos is just in a different kind of category, isn't he, of player? He is immense. He wants to be a star player, other interest from 6 clubs, also might want a release clause. That I do not like. I mean, he can definitely be a star player. I can teach him German as well. I'll get rid of the release clause. I'm happy to pay him the big bucks. I think he's going to be worth it. Of course, we will wait for the scout report to come in. I want to get rid of his sell-on, as we've already got a sell-on to the club. 5-year deal, £125,000. He is happy with that. Hopefully the other team's sniffing around. All this lot, PSG, they scare me. Maybe they won't make bids on him. If we can get this deal done, I feel like it'd be a nice present to leave this Dortmund team with. I have also just had a quick peek at transfer listed German players. I am thoroughly uninspired by the players popping up. I mean, Julian Brandt is available. He's declined a lot as a player. I sold him to Rennes for 12 million. They want 16 million for him now. I don't think they're going to get that bid from anyone. Arsenal, Aston Villa, Everton and PSG have all made offers for Dos Santos. I might live to regret this. I feel like this guy's just worth throwing everything at. We have money. We can afford it. Please accept that. If he doesn't accept that, I don't feel like I could have offered him any more. Meanwhile, in the Euros, Germany v Iceland, 2-0 to Iceland. Was that in the knockout rounds? Wow. I mean, Iceland obviously have a reputation in this competition. They have just well and truly FM'd the German national team, who played awfully. Jovic was on the bench for them, didn't come on. In fact, was there any of our players in this starting 11? And Killy started and didn't do bad. Adriano didn't play great. What this does mean is the German national team are out. Will Serkan Ozer now actually talk to me about joining me? Because he wasn't showing up in realistic transfers before, because he was thinking about that international international duty that he was on and didn't want to talk about a transfer while he was away. In fact, now looking at it, he is available. I want to sign this guy as well. Naturally, I don't want to pay the 67 million all now, so it's going to be another installments deal. They want 67 to 104 million. I'll offer them 70 to start with and see what they say. They want 150 million. Okay, look, here's the deal. I'll give you 50 million over 16 million installments over 3 years. And as well as that, every 6 months, I'll give you 3.33 million. This is not 95 million pounds for this guy. I feel like they're still going to reject this, but I hope I'm wrong. They have still rejected it. How about 30 million up front? 30? I mean, the thing is, I can actually afford this. It's just a case of, do I want to lump the team with all this debt? 120 million, I've bid it. Is Ozer worth 120 million? I think the answer is probably yes. He's dubious about negotiating terms. I mean, this can only end well. I'll make you a star player. He loves it. He wants 225,000 pounds a week. I can only offer as high as 190. I'll offer him that. He wants 215. I'll give you more loyalty bonus. He signed that deal. He could be joining us. Am I about to just sign 2 world-class strikers and hope that that's enough to carry this Dortmund team? I think that's where we might be at. Which might be a really silly decision, considering when you look at the actual star ratings, the majority of the talent in this team is already in the final third. But at the same time, I feel like raw firepower alone can carry teams in Football Manager. And I think it's the best bet that Dortmund have to actually beat Bayern after I'm gone. Pre-season meeting, we'll qualify for the Champions League. I won't tell the players that we're going to be leaving very shortly. They don't need to know yet. Arsenal have now made a bid for João Veloso dos Santos. I mean, I'm still hoping he's going to join us. Scout reports in, by the way. Really consistent player. No obvious negatives. Can I offer him a bit more? I'll offer him a bit more. I mean, we're already offering way more to Uzza. So 175,000. I literally cannot offer more than that. I mean, if he turns me down, we'll go find someone else to waste all the money on. And by waste, I mean spend wisely, of course. I just feel like signing these 2 players would be the best possible gift I could leave this team with. 2 truly world-class players. In Öz's case as well, one of the best German talents probably of the generation. Given the philosophy we've had here of building this German squad, which, I mean, to this day remains largely German, few Austrians, of course. Like, if that legacy can live on a little bit longer, I think us as a man to make that happen. Man City have made a bid of £113 million for Moukoko. I mean, if Mokoko's worth 113 million, is Urza worth 120? I'm going to say yes. And if you were wondering about Moukoko, you can see here, bid from Man City. If I just tick the interested in transfer and even put it on doubtful, he doesn't pop up. He has no interest in talking to me. One player who I did spot had some interest is Max Dopper. Of course, we signed him for 28 million, sold him for 35 million. He did get 9 goals last year, but for 35 million pounds, an average rating of 6.95, It's not great. I mean, at this point, I'm just anxiously spamming continue, hoping that these two players join us. And while one of them is going to join us, Serkan Oza, £120 million. It's an eye-watering sum of money, but if you're going to do your last ever transfer special, blow your budget. Spend more money than you've spent at any point in the save game before. I feel like for this kind of quality of player, you've got to spend the big bucks, and there is not a better German player out there who is a more ready-made fit for this team. Gonna snap him up. It's an eye-watering amount, but the deal's done. I suppose now we just mash continue, hoping that Dos Santos is gonna follow suit. PSG and Arsenal, the only two teams he is still in discussions with. I'm paying more money all up front in terms of guaranteed fees. Really, they should be accepting my bid. Naturally, I know that PSG have capabilities of offering silly money. I've offered as much money as I can, and in fact, now the game won't let me offer any more. If I rejig the budgets, can we offer a bit more? 190,000. Genuinely now, I could not pay him more. I probably could slap in a few more bonuses, but that shouldn't be necessary. I shouldn't need to pay him any more than what I've just stuck on him. Okay, it is the 1st of July. Özil is here. A- rating from the fans. They're a hard bunch to please. The only player who has joined us, of course. In terms of where he would fit into the team if I was coming in, he probably would become the main striker, or maybe I would, if I was playing on this save game more, pivot more to a 4-2-3-1 with a centre attacking mid. I feel like he is such a well-rounded player, can really play anywhere in the final third through the middle of the team. He is at a record transfer, 139 million euros. The previous record was 70 million euros for Nonto, who was literally half the price. When you compare the two of them, though, I think Oza is probably worth paying twice as much for. I will say, if Veloso Dos Santos doesn't now join us, not really sure what the Plan B signing is. Hopefully we won't need the Plan B signing. I feel like he'd be the perfect signing to put a cherry on top for me to leave Dortmund in the best possible position, and also then awful English there, allow a new manager to come in for the rest of pre-season and actually put their stamp on the team. I don't want to be resigning with a week to go till the start of the season. Ideally. We are getting bids for Jovic. I mean, I don't want to sell Jovic. He's on this long-term deal for another 5 years. Absolutely no reason to sell him whatsoever. In fact, whilst we're here, I'm going to make him an important first-team player. Probably a little bit above where he needs to be, but I want him to know he's important. I am also getting bids on some of the younger players, but rather than sell them myself, I'd like my successor to make some decisions on players outside of the first team, really. Was just having a little bit of a fiddle with the team. How would I line up with this squad with Özil now in it? And I think it would be something like this. And I'll tell you what, when you look at that as a starting 11, that's rather spicy. I can't believe this. João Veloso dos Santos has agreed to sign for Arsenal. He's turned down us and PSG, who I thought were our main threat. So I'm going to hit continue here. I'm fuming. I'm livid. I just want to see how much they're actually paying him a week. That's all I care about at this point. They're waiting on a work permit decision. I mean, I need to find a rebound signing, but I'm not sure who I'm going to find of his kind of quality with a transfer budget of £14 million. In fact, I almost feel like there isn't anyone I am going to be able to sign now that is going to make me feel the way I could have and maybe would have felt had we signed him. I think naturally my rebound signing to try and make has to be Wiedreago. When you compare the two of them, there's not a world of difference, but João Veloso dos Santos is probably better. But Wiedreago we have some history with. His agent reckons 72 to 86 million. Can we do that in a lot of installments, please? The answer is not for 85 million with installments. I'll give them a little bit more and hope that it's enough. Has just popped up on my radar here. Alex Scott is currently unhappy at Union Berlin. Of course, we've just missed out on our wildcard signing, so we still have the wildcard signing. Do I bring Alex Scott across to Dortmund in one final kind of FU to my former club, which I, of course, voluntarily left? You know what? I've already got the bid going for Wiedreago. I'm going to make a bid for Alex Scott as well. £7.5 million up front. I'll also pay you on top of that. How about this? I'll give you 10 million, 50 million in 12 monthly installments, and an extra 10 million on top of that. What do you say? They've not outright said no. I am a little bit concerned that I might not be able to get Alex Scott or Wiedreago. With Alex Scott, I just had to submit a new offer. They turned down my initial counter proposal, so I've offered them a little bit more. They were disappointed in my offer, but would it be just anticlimactic if I only sign Uzza to end the final episode? They've negotiated back for Wiedreago here. I can't pay them that much up front. I mean, at the end of the day, is it even worth spending all this money? If they think that offer's unacceptable, I don't think I'm ever going to make an acceptable offer. If my final transfer special is me picking out 2 players, signing one of them for £120 million, having my heart set on someone else, then not being able to get them, and then that's just the episode, I mean, is that a disappointing way to end a transfer special, or is that just ending it on brand? It's probably ending it on brand, to be honest, the more I think about it. Our bid for Alex Scott has been rejected. I offered them £78 million, but only £10 million of it up front. What if I give you a little bit more? How about 80? I don't think Union Berlin like me. I mean, the reality is I've only got £14 million in the bank. I wish I'd been able to get Dos Santos. He would have been such a good signing. And yet with him kind of falling through, I feel like I might have just done all the transfer business I'm actually going to be able to do. Maybe instead of just making some mental signings and racking up the club with a load of debt, maybe this is the situation to leave them in. £100 million in the kind of bank. The best German player not at Bayern Munich now plays for us. Maybe this is as good as it gets. Maybe this is what I need to do to bow out on a high. I'm aware some people will be disappointed I've not done more transfer business and for the fact the episode could just end here. But rather than just end things here, I'll tell you what we'll do instead. I'm going to resign as manager. I'm then going to holiday forward to the start of the season. We'll see who's taken over and also what transfers they've done in my absence. I feel like that's the most sensible thing to do because anyone I sign now is just out of my budget. I'm spending beyond my means. And the reality is that when the AI manager comes in, they're probably going to move on some players anyway. So for all the money moving I could do now to try and make transfers happen, I'd kind of rather let someone else come in and put their own stamp on the team. Now that I have saved the game, I'm going to resign as Dortmund manager. I am leaving the building. My confirmation of resignation has gone through. Mats Hummels apparently could get the job. In terms of the sack race, Julian Nagelsmann apparently is in the running to be sacked as Bayern manager. The season's not even begun yet. The board acknowledged my fantastic performance level whilst at the club, and with that, we bid Dortmund an emotional farewell. I've signed them a new star player. I've left them with a little bit of money in the bank to make some magic happen. Now let's go see how they're looking for their first game of the season. Their first game of the season is the DFL Super Cup against Bayern Munich. It's in just over 3 weeks' time. I'm going to join you the day after that on the 1st of August. We'll see how they lined up, what transfers they've already made, and of course set ourselves up nicely for next episode, which will be the one where we simulate into the future and see what's going on. Okay, it's the 1st of August. I don't know who's taken over yet. We're going to find out together. I resigned as Dortmund manager, and the man to replace me was Mats Hummels. Hummels is in. Hummels is at the wheel. Doesn't have the same ring as Ollie, does it? £15,000 a week they're paying him. They are getting an absolute bargain. I will say, actually, his manager attributes are actually not that bad. He has already been sacked as Eintracht Frankfurt manager, left Auxerre, and also was sacked as Sparta manager, but let's ignore that. He's had 3 clubs in the last 3 years. It's not exactly inspiring. In terms of transfer business he's done in my absence, Gruder has left to go to Real Madrid for £48 million. I mean, £48 million feels cheap. At the same time, Gruder playing for Real Madrid with these attributes seems mental. They also sold Scholl to Union Berlin, which I don't know. That gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling inside, knowing the fact that they've given Union Berlin one of my players that was there at Dortmund. It's like the nature is healing. The process that we enacted is now reversing itself in my absence. And of course, I did already mention it, DFL Super Cup was going to be the first game in charge, and Dortmund won 3-0. Dortmund, I want to watch the replay. I want to watch the highlights. I wanted to watch the highlights. I actually can't watch the highlights. Close your eyes and imagine the goals That's the best we can do. Okay, well, I feel like all of that sets us up pretty nicely for simulating into the future. My hope is to get the In the Future video with Dortmund up tomorrow, and with that video going up for all Patreon supporters, the save games will become available for you guys to play. For everyone else, they will unlock next week, a week after the post has been up on Patreon. It'll be the exact same link, so come back to tomorrow's video after a week of it being up. The link will work. You can pick up the save games, continue it on in FM23, or alternatively, of course, using the new feature, which I assume will work for custom modified database save games. You could also move the Dortmund save game into FM24 if you want to give that a whirl. My final signing in FM23 is Serkan Ozil. We will find out together tomorrow if he was worth it. Let me know your thoughts. What is his career projection? How long before he ends up at Bayern Munich? Let me know down below. One last video for us to do in this Dortmund series. Come back tomorrow to see that one. Besides that, take things easy. Have a lovely rest of your day. It's me, Jack. I'll see you all again in a bit. I'm out.